You know, the holidays are a lot of fun and I enjoy them just like the next person, but I have to say, I've gotten a little stir crazy this winter. You know, all I can think about is getting outside and planting something. It's really starting to affect me. I find myself doing all sorts of odd things. It's like my mind can't focus. All I can think about is spring planting. Please tell me I'm not alone. If you're just beginning a garden, there's some essential things you need in the way of tools. They come in really handy. And what I thought I would do is just walk you through the 7 tools that I use in my vegetable garden. Whether it's a large garden or a raised bed, these all come in handy. They even come in handy when you're dealing with containers. So let's start with a shovel. You don't need a huge shovel, but you need one that you can turn the soil in the bed. I like this flat shovel. It's got a nice sharp edge on it. Now, to break up the clods and sort of smooth out the bed and the soil, I like to use a fork like this. These are really good to have around. And you can also dig into the soil like you would with the shovel. This is good for lifting up root crops like potatoes, sweet potatoes, or any of those root vegetables. Okay, then a trowel. This is very handy when you're planting those little individual transplants in the spring. You need one of these. And when it comes to water, don't just take a water hose and spray like this. You can blow the plants out of the water. I like to use a wand that has a gentle spray nozzle at the end so you can softly water the plants. It doesn't jar them, and it also keeps the soil intact around them. And because it has a long handle, you can reach over into your raised bed quite easily and make sure that all those plants get plenty of moisture. You're also going to need a pair of good clippers, because you want to prune back some of your plants from time to time. For instance, my basil grows with abandon. These are great to have to cut back. And then for supporting plants, you're going to need some trellises. And what I like to do is use trellis, but also have some string along. You can use jute or a cotton string like this. And if you don't want to create something like this that I made out of some sticks of cedar, these bamboo sticks are excellent for supporting all kinds of vegetables and herbs you might want to grow. And remember, you don't have to have a shed full of tools to grow lots of herbs and vegetables. Give it a try and have some fun. Coming up, get a raised bed ready with simple soil preparation. Have fun with the lovely leek and expand your living space to outdoors as the weather warms up. During our latest Garden to Blog event at the farm, I had a chance to hear from some of my favorite bloggers about the ways they get ready for spring.
Springtime can be overwhelming and exhausting, and this is going to sound silly because it's not so much, it's for the garden, but it's also for me. I go into spring training because it's such a demanding task for me to do a lot of bending over, and a lot of people hurt their backs in the spring, so I do a lot of back and ab exercises to get ready for the spring. Someone at the gym taught me that I was not bending over properly and picking up properly because I wasn't engaging my ab muscle, so okay, that's getting ready for spring for me. But the thing I do to get ready for spring in the garden is order seeds. How cool is that? That's a winter-long project when you can't get outside, when it's snowing, when it's rainy and it's cold, you've got your mittens on in the house. You can still go through the seed catalogs and dream the dreams of your best garden ever.
The one thing that I do every year to get my garden ready for spring is buy a lot of fresh potting soil for my containers and hanging baskets, because I learned the hard way that if I reuse last year's soil and containers, I tend to introduce a lot of diseases that have lingered in the soil. So the first thing I do is hit the garden center and stock up on enough to refill my planters and my baskets on my porch, and I try to amend it with compost too.
There's a product called Earth Food that I put on there, and I use it almost like a mulch, and it's spelled ERTH. And I put that on my beds, and it has gypsum in it, so it helps break up our clay soil. And I just use that as to kind of help enrich my soil every year.
When we talk about spring planting, one of the first things I do is get the soil ready in my raised beds for all of those beautiful vegetables and flowers. Beautiful outdoor living spaces can really help you enjoy those milder temperatures when spring comes along. We'll take a look at some great ideas on creating your own, and we'll learn more about the delicious leek after the break. I just love growing leeks. It's one of my favorite mild members of the onion family. We had so much rain this spring, a lot of the winter weeds have, well, they've gotten ahead of me, frankly. So I've been able to weed with this little Warren hoe up to about here. And the rest of it I'm gonna have to get into, and I've got another bed down there. I'm gonna carry on with leeks, and I'm gonna plant another crop of these little youngsters and even some seed. But I thought what I would do is show you what I do with the fertilizing, because it's the time of year to start that. And what I'm going to do is just take this organic fertilizer. There's a granular form. It's blended for these young seedlings. And I'm just going to run it up and down the rows like this. Now, leeks will mature within 70 to 80 days, so it's all dependent on the weather and the variety. Now, if you don't harvest them, what they will do is they'll put up a really tall stalk with a big round bulbous bloom like an ornamental onion, and that's where the seed is stored. So with that, let's step down here and I want to show you what I'm doing with some of these new starts as well as the seed. Now you can buy leeks already sprouted in a pot like this, and all you do is just pull them out and just pull off each one of these little sets. And all you're doing is you're just coming along here, you're finding a place, just put in the ground like that. I like to do this on a cloudy day like today, so you don't have to worry about these little roots drying out. So even though we've had a lot of moisture and the rain has been kind of crazy, but it's amazing how each one of these little plants, even though they look very delicate, they'll jump right up and straighten out. As soon as they get a little sunshine, a few warm days, they'll take off and start growing. So see how I'm just pulling one off and then with the end of my finger just pushing it in the ground just like that. That makes it go very fast. I put about 6 to the row along here like this. Now you can grow leeks from seed. The seed are tiny. You can see here, little black gems. These seed will germinate from about 14 to 21 days. Now you may be asking yourself why I've planted half a row. Well, it's because these are going to come in and be ready to harvest a lot sooner than this next crop. So half this row down here will be planted with these little seedlings. And realize that leeks really like cool weather. So as soon as you can get out in the garden and start working up the soil and getting them planted, the happier they're going to be. an often overlooked edible that you're going to want to include in your spring planting when Garden Style returns. Just take a look at all of these blackberries. Can you believe it? Some people believe that these little gems don't really belong in a vegetable garden, but I have to disagree. In fact, I have several rows of them in my vegetable garden. I consider them nature's candy, a lot like cherry tomatoes or sugar snap peas. You can just go along, pick them off the vine, eat them, the ultimate healthy fast food. The good news is blackberries will grow anywhere you're growing vegetables and herbs successfully. You know, they're really not picky about the soils they grow in. That's why I love them so much. Well, then again, they do taste so good. Now, there are a couple of things you need to know if you want to raise blackberries successfully. It's all about planting and pruning properly. You see, you want to get these guys into the ground in the early spring and plant them in an area where you'll ultimately have some supports for them. You see, the supports simply keep the brambles more confined. It makes it easier for harvest later. Now, when it comes to spacing the plants, I planted mine about 3 feet apart. Okay, now let's talk about pruning. After you've picked all those berries and you've recovered from eating all of that blackberry cobbler, it's time to prune, prune, prune. What you want to do is you want to remove the old canes. You see these that have berries on them? You'll cut those out at the base of the plant. These prima-canes will flower and produce berries next year. And so what I want to do is I want to keep these cut down. So I'm keeping these cut at about, 3.5 to 4 feet. You see, I want the plants to put all their energy into this new growth so that I have multiple stems coming off of these prima-canes. The more stems, the more blooms, and then that equals more berries. So when you're planting your spring garden, make sure you include some blackberries. It's an oh so sweet idea. After the break, we'll extend our living space outdoors and enjoy the warmer temperatures of spring. Tobi, I just love this avocado bruschetta that you make.
I love anything with avocado, don't you?
It's perfect for outdoor dining and a party.
I know.
Yeah.
I love to have friends over, and anything like this that you can just throw together quickly. I keep avocado all the time.
I do too. I think they're going to love it. So Tobi, as an interior designer, let's take a look at some of the principles that you've used to embrace your backyard, because it really looks great. This space is clearly a reflection of what's going on the inside of the house.
Right, so I'm really known for using color. And one of my favorite things to do to transition color is to make sure you select maybe one key color and make it flow from room to room.
Right.
So I brought,
pull the inside out.
Right, so we took this green that I love, my favorite color, and we really kind of let that be the base, the start of our outdoor living space.
Well, as a garden designer, I really consider green kind of as a neutral.
It is, me too.
So you can play on top of that green with all sorts of colors. You know, that red splash really captures your eye.
Right, and you know, there's not any red on the interior, but since I brought the green out, it's easy to transition to the red. And
I love the back with that stripe.
Isn't that fun? And this is all indoor-outdoor on the furniture itself, but these pieces are just indoor fabrics that when I'm having a party like today, we're gonna have friends over, I just kind of bring some of these pieces out.
It bumps it up a little.
Yeah, exactly. Makes it a little more personable and a little more fun.
Well, I love the way you've arranged it this year. Each year you kind of play with it a little bit.
We do. You know, one time you were here for a party and we brought some sofas out.
Yes,
so that was kind of fun. We do all sorts of things, but these are the pieces that live here most of the time.
Well, I love this basket that you have here, which really serves as a place for you to hold these cushions.
Yes, it does. So if it's raining, we put the cushions in there, you know, so we run out and tuck them away so that they, you know, really stay in good shape. But it's also just an extra place to sit as well.
Aren't these indoor-outdoor rugs great?
Oh, I love them.
I mean, 10 years ago you couldn't find them, but today you can leave them out
They're
in
amazing.
all
I mean, you
seasons.
can power wash them. You can, you know, they look great all the time, and it's kind of that whole idea of hosing it down, and it still looks good.
That's right. I love your hydrangeas. You're such a hydrangea girl.
Oh, they're my favorite. And we have a big, great-looking hydrangea bush in the yard, so I literally just go trim them off and put them, you know, put them in a vase. It's so much fun.
Tobi, I have to say, I love the way you all have used every square foot of your backyard.
You know, we are the same inside. We live in the whole house. We don't waste a square inch in there either.
Yeah,
So-
well, it's marvelous. You know, I think so many people don't recognize that they have this asset. The backyard is often an underutilized asset.
You can really increase kind of your square footage of your home if you use all the spaces the way we've done for different activities.
Sure. I'm crazy about Ellison's play area and then that hammock up in the corner.
We fight over the hammock, and it's
You're
right by my blue hydrangea, so I love to lay up there with the view, but I usually get kicked out.
It's just perfect. And here you have various types of seating. You've got these lounges here where you can just kick back under the umbrella. And then I love the built-in over here in the corner.
Isn't that fun? We love that too. And sometimes we bring in a table for dining, or it's a great place to have the bar, keep things moving, you know, outside for a party. So, I mean, really sky's the limit in how you can use all of these spaces.
Well, it's just come together beautifully. We probably better get back to our avocado bruschetta because our guests will be here soon.
You're right.
Get more garden style just after the break. Well, I guess it goes without saying it's time for me to get my hands in the soil. Hey, I'm really excited about spring, can you tell? And I hope after seeing this show, you're excited about spring too. And I hope you'll follow me on Facebook because we're going to be posting lots of pictures that'll keep you inspired and give you lots of new ideas for your spring garden. Until next time, I'm Alan Smith for Garden Style. Okay, you little tomatoes, I want you to grow big and strong. There you go. A lot sooner than this next crop. So half this row down here will be planted with these little seedlings. And these are the seedlings.
You didn't tell me to study before
My
this
anatomy
week.
professor at Hendrix, that's what he used to say. Smith, you moved to the front of the class this morning. You got that right. Thank you, Dean Raymond.
Here we go.
Right.
Screw it up.
That's right. Okay. All right.
You look really silvery.
I do. I'm feeling it. I'm plated.
Glowing.
I was plated, not styling, no. Sterling, darling, sterling. All right.
Liver and action.
All right.